Thank you for joining us. Our special guest today is my good friend, Rabbi Yossi Harlig. Rabbi, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, so just to put down the facts, Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest, the Friendship Circle, and the Mitzvah Kitchen.
See, we got the
right here.
Chabad, Friendship Circle,
And
the Mitzvah Kitchen.
right. So Chabad, you came down here 30 plus years ago. You said we're gonna move down to this place down in Miami called Pinecrest Kendall area, and we're gonna open up a Chabad that nobody knows about. Nobody knows what it is, and most Jewish people were on their way out. But there was something that you saw, probably because you like the sunshine down there. So why did you come down here in particular to Miami?
You're right. It was new winter. I just got married, and we wanted to open up a Chabad center for us as a follower of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe always taught to go out into the world and inspire the world. And I was looking at a place in New Jersey, and it was snowing. I still remember Nechama and I went there. She went for an interview to teach in a school, and it was like snowing and cold. And then I came to Florida, and someone mentioned to me, why did you move to South Dade? I'm driving down the 95, down US 1. It's palm trees and sunny. It's mid-February. I said, I can get used to this easily.
So,
That's why I chose it.
and the rest is history.
The rest is...
So the most recent thing you did was you and your team was to create the Friendship Circle. So tell us about that.
You mean the Mitzvah Kitchen, Friendship Circle?
Yes,
all of
both.
both. So we just had a 30-year celebration of the Chabad Friendship Campus. And it's so we started the Chabad Center in 1995. It's a Jewish outreach organization. 2004, we started the Friendship Circle. It's an organization that pairs teenagers with special needs children. That's running since 2004. And it's just grown tremendously. We run 26 different programs. We service over 150 special needs kids. We have close to 200 volunteers. And then we went off our campus for a few years, and we came back on a year ago on 87th Avenue and 112th Street. We have 2.5 acres. And when we opened up the campus, we started a new organization called Mitzvah Kitchen, which is about a year old. And in the first year, you were the first donor, by the way. In the first year, we made already over 20,000 meals going to over 42 different charities.
So explain the concept so people can understand what the Mitzvah Kitchen does.
I would say the concept of the whole campus. People say, what's the specialty of your campus? It's bringing people together to impact other people's lives. That's the uniqueness of it. And that was the kind of the vision of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We should all be lamplighters, inspire other people. And how do we do that? We do it through the Chabad programs, and we do it through the French Circle programs, where you get teenage volunteers that come together to help the special needs community and be a friend to the special needs community. And then we have the community coming together to make meals to help other people. But the power of this organization is bringing people together and telling them you could change someone's life. And you see the energy in the room when people make meals. You see the energy in the room with the volunteers. They all say they get more out of it than the people that receive
So
it.
when groups go down there, more or less, so there are 10 people in that room, 20 people, 30 people.
Up to 150 people.
So they're all there. You have a chef that's there and volunteers and helping people to teach them how to make that meal that's there. And they package it up.
And ready to go, and it gets delivered. The people that get it, what's different than other organizations, it's a ready-made meal, fresh meals. Usually people will say, oh, why did you get it donated? So what things do you get donated? Things that are about to expire, the supermarket gives it to you. So I always ask people, do you give your family expired food? Do you give your family food that's ready to be thrown in the garbage? No, you give your family quality restaurant, quality freshness. We buy the best vegetables, fresh meat. We make that meal. They should eat with the same dignity and love like me and you eat, because they don't have money. They shouldn't have to eat anything less. And we prepare those meals. We make those meals. We deliver those meals to the charities that already know the people, and they can eat it right away. They can freeze it and put it in the microwave later, but it's ready, fresh meals.
It's a powerful statement, sir.
Yes.
So, again, if people want to participate, they can go on your website.
On the mitzvahkitchen.org, we have events throughout the month. We have corporate events. We have a lot of corporations that came to us. FPL, Florida Blue, the HCA came, the Zoo Miami came, all for corporate events. They pay to come to the event, what our cost is, and they come as for team building.
We never know what we do, how it affects other people. So when you introduced me to the Friendship Circle and what it was about, I was sort of on the surface looking, okay, great. And I wasn't part of it. And then 4 years ago, a doctor came in and he said, my son has autism and he just graduated from records in film and video. Do you have an internship for him? He's never had a job before. And I just panicked. And I said out of ignorance, is he going to scream? No, Michael. Okay. And so the dad takes his phone out of his pocket to show me some of the video work that he was doing. And I leaned over and I said to myself, Michael, don't look at it, because you cannot judge this moment by this 15 seconds. I said, Doc, the answer is yes. 3 days, 4 hours a day. Well, at the end of the first day, we offered him a job. He was here for over 3 years. And now he has a job in a much larger organization doing something similar. And after he left, I called his dad. I said, listen, Doc, I want you to know the gift that your son gave us. We have a show on autism every 2 weeks. And every week, one way or the other, there are people that are directly affected by autism. Sometimes I'll just bring up a show and I am stunned how many people said, I have a child or an adult child or whatever it is. So that's because you loosen me up a little bit just by the slight exposure to that, to allow that possibility that that's for you. What is that for me? Well, whatever. To allow that possibility for somebody to come to work. He changed this organization tremendously. We used to say, I would say, you know, Alex, the kid with autism. And I said to myself, when are you going to stop saying that second part? It took me a while. I don't know about anybody else, but it took me a while to say Alex. And we watched and see how he interacted, how he improved, and how he changed. And we changed more. We became more human, more empathetic, more, hey, this is great, and to stand up for those people. You know, when people, whatever their causes, to be able to amplify their message.
You know, last night we honored the volunteers from Friendship Circle. We do it once a year. The message was be the light. We had your brother Grant today, made a nice video. Thank you, Grant. And a lot of the volunteers told us this has been a big life-changing for them. Later on, when they go in the street or they're sitting on a plane or they're in the park, so typically you don't understand the behavior of a special needs child or adult. Now they become more sensitive to it. They become advocates for them. We've had volunteers that went into the special needs field because of it. So that's why I say our camp is really a place where people learn to become light to other people and change other people's lives. So that's what I'm the most proud of, I can tell you.
Was that the plan, or did all this stuff happen because you started and you go, look what has happened? Or you say, no, this is going to happen.
It happened along the way. I had no idea. I'm a big believer in just move forward and try to do positive things, and it's going to work itself out. So I don't really didn't realize the power of the Mitzvah Kitchen or the Friendship Circle either way before I started. But as it goes along, I see, wow, this is impactful. I wish I could say that before I knew it, I saw all this. I just know that people like volunteering. I didn't know if they're really going to take to it. But you get to see the excitement and the love that people have when you tell them you can make a difference.
When I look at the Friendship Circle in Chabad, it's very involved. But when I look at the Mitzvah Kitchen, it's pretty simple, which is this is what we do, and this is how it impacts people. That to me was like this huge thing, and how you created that, the kind of changes are going to happen, because I know that people go there. Let me tell you what we did. We went over that place over there, and right across the street there, and we made food together, and we had this great camaraderie, and then we gave the food, good quality food, powerful statement, to people that needed it. What a great thing to do. And on the other end of the spectrum, I continue to see that there's a rise in anti-Semitism, open, in-your-face type of stuff. Just for clarification, tell us what happened in 2024, walking around 87th and 112th Street, and what happened recently.
So recently, let's just tell you, about 3 weeks ago, I was walking on Killian with my son, and I had a guest there that Shabbos, walking to synagogue.
How old is he?
My son?
Yeah.
17. And the guest was an older man in his mid-70s from England, stayed in House of Shabbos. A car slows down. He lowers the window. I can't use the word he used, the first word he would. Bleeping Jew. and screaming a few more curse words, and takes off, and he leaves. This is the second story. The first story was a year and a half ago, maybe. It's also walking on Killian. Maybe I should stop walking. And a guy screams back, also not that far from the same area, go back to the gas chamber, something like that, along those lines.
Why do people do that? What's in them that they think that they can spew that hate?
So I believe, I was thinking about it as I'm walking away. I'm thinking to myself, he sees three Jewish people working. He has to lower his window and scream at us because he has hate to the Jewish people. It's not because of what's going on in Israel. So what do I have to do? I wasn't walking around with Israeli army uniform. I'm not in Israel. So why me walking at Killian does he have to scream, you dirty Jew, and bleep, bleep, bleep Jew? Because he's anti-Semitic and hates the Jewish people. And when he sees me, and he sees anyone like me that represent being Jewish, he hates that. But for me, I said to myself, you know what, it's interesting. If he just drove further down Killian, and he walked into our campus, and saw all the lives that we impact on a daily basis, the Jewish community, even though the Friendship Circle is non-sectarian in who we serve the whole community. Jews, Christians, blacks, white, Catholics, it doesn't make a difference. A big percent of the kids we serve are not Jewish. Yeah, we do it because that's our responsibility to light into the nation. We say something differently. Or the Mitzvah Kitchen. We give over 20,000 meals, 42 charities. Most of them are not even Jewish. The kosher meals, we give it to everyone. Would he say anything differently, saying, this is the Jew that he hates? What are we doing? We're changing the world. We're inspiring the world. We're bringing light into the world. And whatever's going on in Israel, you think Israel's doing it for Israel? They're doing it for the world. In Iran, they're saying death to America, death to Israel. And we're doing the holy work. But unfortunately, and you're in the social media world, because of social media, and because of the lies that are being said over there, and you keep saying the lie over and over again, we are the ones that are really changing the world and inspiration to the world are being vilified as the aggressors. But me as a rabbi, it doesn't scare me. I think about it more and I say to myself, if they're cursing me out that I'm a Jew, I'm not embarrassed that I am a Jew. I'm proud to be a Jew. And we as a Jewish community have to be even more dedicated. If he sees me as a Jew, what does it mean to be a Jew?
So when you were walking and when he uttered that terrible stuff, you had your son on one side and your friend on the other side.
He was from London. He's saying, wow, I thought in England there's a problem.
So was it like you looked at each other and you go, did you hear what he said? What just happened here? What was that moment like as he sped away?
In my heart, it's like, wow, such hate here in our community. But on the other hand, I said, this doesn't scare me. It makes me even more resolved to identify with who I am. If he identifies me with who I am, then I for sure should identify who I am and be a greater light to the nation. So that's what it does to me.
So about 15 years ago when this anthrax or whatever it was, the powder that was going around to everybody.
Yeah.
So I get a call from City Hall. Michael, there's watch out. Calls me. He says, so there's been a threat to Jewish businesses. What is it that allows this stuff to go from generation to generation to generation? Do you try to process it and make it go away? Or is it like focus on, listen, this is what I want to do, and I want the world to be a better place? And what kind of conversation, if you could sit down with somebody who expressed stuff like that, what would that conversation look like?
So there's two different types of people. There's some people that are just purely anti-Semitic and make up stories and make up lies, like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, and those people. They just hate Jews, and Candace Owens and other people who are running for elected office. They just hate Jews, and there's nothing you could say or prove. Any video you show them, any fact show them, will change their mind. Why do they hate the Jews? Those are things you have to ask them where it comes from. Jealousy, insecurity, what we stand for, what we represent, they hate. And then there are people that are naively believe everything they see on social media. You experienced something just this week where you watched, and not if you want to share it, you watched the way a lie was being said about you and about what you were, the event that you went to. And people believe it. people want to believe it. And it's like, wow.
It's the first time that I'm acutely aware of the type of hate that people are not just spewing, that are sharing with other people. And when we do that, they feel like they get permission to do the same. Just like when you do something good for people and you stand up, you do stuff. We're giving permission for the world to feel that and for them to share the good stuff. So you have people on the other side, like those obnoxious characters who wrote that's nonsense. It was really offensive to me. And
Why don't you share what was? I mean, general?
Yeah. They called me a power-hungry Jew. And I shouldn't have done any of the stuff that they claimed that I did. And I shouldn't worry about their paranoia about Jewish influence. He's anti-Semitic, and some other hateful words. The event that occurred, it was an event that we were having, had nothing to do with religion at all, zero. It happened to be with a politician who was not Jewish, all right? And so this attack was personal. How they knew I was Jewish, I don't know, right? Because a lot of people that look like me that are all different.
And the name Miller doesn't even sound Jewish.
Right? And so, and it probably didn't matter to whether it was a robot or they just want to be able to have a way to spew their nonsense. And when you realize that there are people that they find sites that have a lot of activity, and that's the place where they do it. Because I read some of the subsequent messages, and they would just pass it down. And you see it, and whether that's organized or not, it doesn't matter because they keep saying it over and over and over. And it was really upsetting. That was a week, 10 days ago. And unfortunately, I'm still thinking about it. You know, I just want to
It's interesting. You've never been identified that way.
Right.
First time in your life. Like me, it's all the time. People see me, oh, Rabbi the Jew.
First time. And I was telling the story to you earlier. I was with 3 very successful African-American Hispanic men, and they said, Michael, you're the white guy. And I go, I've never been called that before. And she says, yes, you have. You just haven't heard it. And that's what I thought of that moment when I read that. I went, oh, my God, look at this. So that stuff is real. I didn't know that it was real because I would always say it was over there. It was there. It was on TV, or you were the closest to it. Yeah, but that's over there. That's not here. So it was really startling to see how they're very open about it. And unfortunately, it's pretty
right. So really, I mean, if it was done by, what is the word called? With a bot. But the younger generation, I speak to parents who tell me that kids believe what TikTok says, what Facebook says, what Instagram says, and they buy into it. And they believe the nonsense that they're reading and watching. And they think that's the real reality. And it's a big challenge in our generation to be able to educate people. They shouldn't believe in everything they see online. Because someone posts a video doesn't, or some commentary on a video.
So I'm not sure what's going to slow it down, but I guess there's ebb and flow. And right now it's pretty significant. And I think as we get closer to these elections, there's going to be more agitated people. Right. And so it's going to be a lot of nonsense, whether it's about religion or politics or right or left or freedom or not freedom. So we are acutely aware of that. And we just had a little chat with our people here about you have to be careful in your conversations because there can be somebody that is completely up on the other end of your conversations who may get irritated, or you might get irritated. So everybody's got to do what they need to do. But
yeah, because of that, we have to have a lot more security in our synagogue. We have to have a lot more protection for people. It's like you got to do your due diligence in your job because you don't know what people are thinking. But on the other hand, I'm done hiding. I ain't going to hide. I'm always wear my kippah proudly. I know a lot of people tell me when they travel, they hide their Star of David and all that. Can you believe it? I want to tell you a story. So about a week ago, I was in New York, flying back. I was in the Delta Lounge, and I put on tefillin to pray. And I was thinking to myself, oh, which I never think before. How are people looking at me? I'm in New York, Madame, the mayor, a lot of anti-Jewish over there. And I remember doing my prayer, and after I noticed someone looking at me, and after I prayed, he finished praying, he passed me, and then he walks back to me, he shakes my hand and said, thank you so much for what you do. And I was thinking to myself, I never was in a situation where I was thinking about what people are thinking about me until now. and it's much more heightened about your surroundings now, which have never happened before.
And you've been exposed to a lot of things, including anti-Semitism, I'm sure your entire life, and your parents and your grandparents, etc. And so even with that, you start thinking about it. We never really, at our events, we always have policemen there. They're just going to be closer now.
Especially now, unfortunately, with the political climate, a lot of people want to take things in their own hand. And you have people coming to your events that have a position as right, left, whatever it is. You never know who's in the crowd who wants to come in. It's unfortunate, but you still have to continue doing these events. That's my point.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than closing out. We're very blessed. The sheriff's office sends us police right away. And I remember right after October 7th, like a week later, there were some threats. They're going to go attack synagogues, and some synagogues closed down. I said, I'm not closing down. I'm going to be open. I'm going there. There's nothing worse than giving into what they try to get and accomplish.
I used to be very active in tourist country. We would fight almost every development that was out there. When I first moved in, my neighbors were opposing a school nursery to open up on my street. And I said, look at those people. They're coming from over there to here. A year later, I was going over there doing the same thing they did to protect my neighborhood, and we went over there. And that's what you're saying is you got to stand up, and you have to speak up, and you have to oppose those things, and you can't run away, because when you do, the bad guys win.
And the other thing is, people think it's a problem in Israel and Iran. If we don't take care of it there, they're coming here. So we have responsibility for each other. And I believe Israel is doing the work in America, not only for themselves, but for the world. How do I know it? Because Iran, they tell us what they want to do. And we got to take them for face value. But unfortunately, the internet and all this other nonsense and anti-Semitism, they play it out there like we're the victim, like we're the aggressors.
Okay, let's talk about Jewish holidays coming up. What do we have coming up?
The most important Jewish holidays coming up tomorrow night. Nobody talks about it. After your big event tomorrow night, you have a big event,
yes.
Of course.
Yes.
It's the holiday of Shavuot. That's the holiday where God came down on Mount Sinai and gave the Jewish people the 10 Commandments. And we became a Jewish nation. And that is something that we celebrate for 48 hours from Thursday night to Saturday night. It's time to come to synagogue, to hear the Torah reading. And part of the 10 Commandments is very interesting. It says, do not kill, do not steal. And people wonder, well, if God has 10 sayings to tell us, those are basics. Everybody knows it. And the answer is not true. Because if you take God out of the picture, you just do it because what you think is right, then you're going to follow your rules. And usually it's things that you're going to mess up. So we always got to put God in our life and how we live our life every day.
Okay, and you're a chaplain for the Miami-Dade Police Department?
Yes.
And again, we just got a couple minutes left, but if we could touch on the travesty that occurred probably 3 years ago in Bal Harbor.
June, yeah. Soon it's going to be 3 years or 4 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, when you look back at there, that was a pretty massive, significant event for everybody that was down here. How many people died in that?
98.
In an instant, they died. It's really significant. Tell us, if you would, the impact on we understand what happens to the families, but on you as a comforter and a person that goes there, how do you look at things differently today than you did before that?
I was never in a situation where you see desperation in people's eyes. A lot of times you go to a scene, a tragedy, people are killed. I've been to very tragic events. Just recently I was by a murder-suicide, and there were kids involved in that. And, that's very difficult. But here was people desperate for days. Are they going to come out alive? Could they come out alive? And hopefully they'll come out alive. And seeing the anguish in their eyes, and then once they realize the turn from search and rescue to search and recovery, hoping to get the loved ones back, and getting closure for getting the loved ones back, something so special. I still remember, you remember certain scenes. I remember the first morning where people like running to the building and saying, hoping to get in touch with family members. But I remember another scene about 2 weeks in. So whenever there was a notification they found the body, they would want to have a chaplain in the room. So we were in a hotel, one of the hotels in Miami Beach. So on the first floor was the conference room social hall where the families would get twice a day an update. And then upstairs is where families be notified they found a body. Can you imagine the room where you let them know they found a loved one was relief. Going downstairs and seeing the people still in the room where they still didn't find a loved one was such sadness. And I said, I never believed you go from two different places, and one place is relief. Celebration is not the right word, but comfort. You can have closure. And the other place is, when are they going to find my loved one? And still living in a very deep pain and realizing the importance of having closure and burying them. I remember I wrote something to the Herald then when they released the hostages out of Gaza. It was also about getting back the bodies. And you would think, okay, the bodies, what's the difference? That's enough. As a family member, you want to be able to bury your loved one and get closure from that. And it brings a lot of comfort to people having that. And that's why the police and the army work so hard, no body left behind. Because living in the anguish, I don't have my loved one to even bury, is a pain that no one should ever imagine.
Yeah.
Burying someone gives you some beginning the closure of healing. And that was something very, very powerful. And the other thing you see is the tremendous care that the first responders had, trying so hard to save a life or to bring their loved ones back. That was something that was very heartwarming to see.
And for the first responders and for people on the scene, other than the families, that's tough. Day after day after day after day, dealing with the families and dealing with...
families were screaming at them. The families were angry and families were so frustrated, and they stayed calm and they understood them. You know, it was interesting what happened there, which usually doesn't happen. You know, you never take loved ones to the scene of the crime. You never want them to be there. And there was a debate. I still remember the first few days because the families were angry. They don't understand. The building collapsed in America. 5 minutes later, you should be able to take everyone out. A few hours later, you should take everybody out. One day after another day after another day. Why aren't they taking anyone out? So they made a decision to bring the families back to the scene. And I remember I was in the bus going with the families, and then we were standing right next to the building. In the beginning, they came in crying, screaming the loved one's name. Remember, 121, they're alive. 123, they're in a pancake. I remember standing there, the family members screaming the loved ones' names. But I remember when they left, there was a certain calmness, understanding the first responders that it's almost impossible to bring, how hard it is to bring one of the loved ones out. And at that point, they would change from us against them. They were all in it together. So I remember that was another very powerful moment.
Okay, we're going to wrap up in a moment. So again, tomorrow night, all right?
The holiday Shavuot, the 48-hour holiday. It's important to go to synagogue, important to bring your children to synagogue, because that's the holiday where the children were the guarantors. Because God said, I'm giving you the Torah. How do I know you're going to keep it? They said, oh, the grandparents, they got time all day to study. No. Your parent, no. When they said the children, said, I know the children, then they're going to do it. And that's what we brought here, tefillin that you could put on. They called you the Jew.
All right, so we're going to do that in the other room in just a minute.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. And we'll look at the camera right over there.
Camera.
That one right there. Rochelle, thanks so much for doing the show. Second, my brother Grant and I subscribe to the Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they do. Have a great day. Bye now.